were headed home from the port of Taipei. Hadn't had a clue what stood in our way. The wind was good and the skies were clear. Couldn't see a thing that we should fear. The clouds rolled in, wind snapped the sails. Captain says, boys, we're headed for a gale. So we battened down rig and felt the strain, and the boatswain howled through the driving rain. There's a storm blowing side to side. There's a storm 6 miles wide. There's a storm, no place to hide. We're gonna ride it out to the other side. The thunder roared and the lightning flashed. The ocean rolled and the cold waves crashed. We pointed our nose right towards that squall, and over it all we heard the boatswain's call. There's a storm blowing side to side. There's a storm 6 miles wide. There's a storm, no place to hide. We're gonna ride it out to the other side. Then it all stopped just as it began, and a cheer went up from each boy and man. The captain says, no, this is just the ice. There is much worse coming on the other side. There's a storm blowing side to side. There's a storm 6 miles wide. There's a storm, no place to hide. We're gonna ride it out to the other side. There's a storm blowing side to side. There's a storm 6 miles wide. There's a storm, no place to hide. We're gonna ride it out to the other side. Just as he said, it rolled back in again. We were battling the rain and the hail and wind. We knew the ship couldn't take much more, and once again we heard the boatswain's roar. There's a storm blowing side to side. There's a storm 6 miles wide. There's a storm, no place to hide. We're gonna ride it out to the other side. All through that day the storm raged on, and we battled it back to the next dawn. When we saw the sun we knew we were clear, and we all hoped never again to hear. There's a storm blowing side to side. There's a storm 6 miles wide. There's a storm, no place to hide. We're gonna ride it out to the other side. There's a storm blowing side to side. There's a storm 6 miles wide. There's a storm, no place to hide. We're gonna ride it out to the other side. We're gonna ride it out to the other side. We're gonna ride it out to the other side. 60 set out from Cambridge, all good men and true, on a gunship bound for glory with a young and wild crew. We'd charge in, make our stand, and we'd see victory. But when we won our first battle, there were only 53. More died from infection, despite the surgeon's tricks, that brought our bold and fearless crew down to 46. We then sailed away, thinking we had seen the worst, but we steered her back around when we heard a cannon's burst. Second fight that day, and our luck was fading fast. Though we stayed afloat, we'd lost most of our mainmast. We were now adrift and very glad to be alive, though I must admit our crew was now down to 35. Most of the food was ruined from the salt sea down below, but we didn't fear till the water started running low. With our bold and hardy crew, just a fortnight out to sea, the cruel sea had taken 12 and we were 23. 4 more days had passed when we caught sight of a gale. We were sucking rain from the rags that used to be our sail. Another week adrift was the worst I'd ever seen. Our beleaguered crew was now down to just 17. The first mate started screaming and set the deck alight. We tried to restrain him, but he had a madman's fight. When we stopped him, he'd just hum, "It'll all be fine." But by then our battered crew was no more than 9. From 9 we went to 7, from 7 down to 3. The cabin boy, the carpenter, and the bosun, that was me. We all sat there on the deck, though none of us could speak. We should be keeping watch, but we were all too weak. The cabin boy was curled up in a corner all alone. The carpenter was muttering and gnawing on a bone. I just kept on laughing, 'cause I knew I'd lost my grip, as we were taken one by one to the rescue ship. Never go to see me, boys, never leave the land. For once you're out to sea, it doesn't matter what you plan. Your life lies in the mercy of the sea, heartless and cruel. So you'll stay ashore unless you truly are a fool. Though 3 survived that awful trip, I'm the last one of my crew. The others locked in their own minds, their voyage never through. So listen to me, lads, before you take your hellish trip. Man belongs up on the ground, not on some goddamn ship.
So here's the story of a man who's told to make ends meet. A man who's running out of luck, oh yes, that man is me. One fateful day a carriage came with silver gems and gold. It stumbled right before my feet, I took all I could hold. They halted me and pointed all their guns. I stood a moment and I knew that I would have to run. The streets flew by so quickly, but a barrel blocked my track. I'd nowhere left to go, and so my hands went on my back. I've made it this far, but lost track of my luck. Dodged every bullet, earned quite the schmuck. I'll tell you the tales of a man still here now, but please don't ask questions, I can't tell you how. Spent the night behind those bars, the gallows called me out. I met those ropes, I saw my end, my death, there was no doubt. But then a bang, some shrapnel flew, the rope was cleft in twains. For pirates came to stir the land, and I was spared my pain. I found myself a rusty tub, could barely even float. I sailed it out upon the sea with nothing but me coat. But then the clouds went dancing round and conjured up the gales. It knocked me down, it split me raft and sent me to the whales. I've made it this far, but lost track of my luck. Dodged every bullet, earned quite the schmuck. I tell you the tales of a man still here now, but please don't ask questions, I can't tell you how. To find a lonely sheep secreting on my chest. I scared him off and walked this trail and found this town out west. Somehow I am still alive, though death gave me his wink.
I'll get you next time, pretty boy.
And so I live to rove again, now pass me one more drink. I've made it this far, but lost track of my luck. Dodged every bullet, earned quite the schmuck. I'll tell you the tales of a man still here now, but please don't ask questions, I can't tell you how.
Months out, nothing to show. The crew's morale at an all-time low when we put into Port Royal for repairs. The captain went ashore for news while we mended sails with the other crews and talked about our sad state of affairs. The captain, he came bounding back, said, boys, there's no time to unpack, 'cause we're about to join a pirate fleet. This news should have been met with cheers, but the crew was plagued with doubt and fears. So our captain said without missing a beat, don't avoid it, don't fear it, embrace your pirate spirit. We sail with Captain Morgan tonight, for adventure and glory, an unforgettable story. We sail with Captain Morgan tonight. For Maracaibo we'll set sail, and there is no way we can fail. We'll have us a navy all our own, like Portobello long before. We will sneak ourselves ashore, and we'll be rich before we come back home. This got some cheers, but not a lot. They knew the Cartagena plot, and all the pirates there that met their end. Yes, he says there's risk involved, but every problem can be solved, and we'll end up with more cash than we can spend. Don't avoid it, don't fear it, embrace your pirate spirit. We sail with Captain Morgan tonight, for adventure and glory, and an unforgettable story. We sail with Captain Morgan tonight. At last the crew, they all agreed, as fear cannot win over greed, and we got our ship all ready and primed. We set the sails and sharpened swords, we pulled the anchor and wound the cords. There was no way that we would lose this time. With that the whole crew was met, pledges made and routes were set. Henry Morgan said, let not a thing go wrong. And as the fleet was heading out, you could hear our whole crew shout, listen up, you scurvy dogs, and sing along. Don't avoid it, don't fear it, embrace your pirate spirit. We sail with Captain Morgan tonight, for adventure and glory, and an unforgettable story. We sail with Captain Morgan tonight. Don't avoid it, don't fear it, embrace your pirate spirit. We sail with Captain Morgan tonight, for adventure and glory, and an unforgettable story. We sail with Captain Morgan tonight. We sail with Captain Morgan tonight.
Many years ago when I was young, I went to sea for golden glory and fulfill my destiny. But all I gained for working hard were promises and scorn, rotten food diluted grog and clothing weather-worn. Adventure, wealth and glory, though are never to be seen. I enlisted on a vessel with a captain oh so mean. But for a simple sailor who penetrated bay, there's always opportunity of making mutiny. Prepare yourself to fight, come with us tonight. Drop all your rapier powders and sail with us tonight. Because you're free with us to sea. Combat all injustice, put an end to slavery. And you are a miner and been for all your days. Helpless you are standing there when your master's underpay. Bailiffs are so greedy and deceiving all the serf.
So listen up and realize your better lives deserve. And meanwhile men of noble birth, they dwell in great abound. The rest of us must struggle in starvation that's around. Detractors are just what they are, malevolent pigs. They took of me my everything, in poverty I'm bound. Prepare yourself to fight, come with us unite. Report your rapier powders and sail with us tonight. Because you're free with us to see. Combat all injustice, put an end to slavery.
That all was well. Age of 13, free of man and lovely like a spell. And just when she had found love in a kind and bonny lad, her whole world was turned upside down and good things turned to bad. It was because of the wicked count, an old disgusting man. The saddest fuck, so cold and cruel, a terrible tyran. When he laid eyes on the little maid, he laughed and then he said, I need this girl to punish her and take her to my bed.
Prepare yourself to fight, come with us unite. Afford your rapier powders and sail with us tonight. Because you're free with us to see. Combat all injustice, put an end to slavery. Prepare yourself to fight, come with us unite. Afford your rapier powders and sail with us tonight. Because you're free with us to see. Combat all injustice, put an end to slavery. Prepare yourself to fight, come with us unite. Draw forth your rapier powder, set sail with us tonight. Because you're free with us to see. Combat all injustice, put an end to slavery.
The sky was gray and cloudy and the wind was from the west, when we spied a battered frigate with her tattered sail full dressed. They signaled they had letters home, they asked if we could take. They dropped them in a barrel, they left bobbing in their wake. We reefed the sails and slowed the ship to fish the barrel out. The old ship sailed to the distance, then we saw her come about. The captain watched through a spyglass when we heard him catch his breath, and we saw the storm a-brewing had become a wall of death.
Turn this ship around, me boys, turn around and run. That storm, it wants a battle, and it's sure that we're outgunned. What of the ship that's out there, do we leave her to the gale? She's called the Flying Dutchman, and it's race that fills her sails.
The thunder growled like demons and the lightning stabbed the waves, and the Dutchman, she leapt towards us riding fury from the grave. Our captain, he stayed at the wheel, the crew, they manned the lines, and still that ship and storm were quickly closing in behind. Ship would crest a giant wave and crash to the trough below, and the crew held on to what they could, they were damned if they let go. The rain and sea and storm winds crashed against our ship with wrath, and from the deck of that cursed ship we could hear them laugh.
Turn this ship around, me boys, turn around and run. That storm, it wants a battle, and it's sure that we're outgunned. That ghostly ship is hunting us, it's bringing on the gale. She's called the Flying Dutchman, and it's rage that fills her sails.
That was 'cause when we sighted land it became a race with time. We believed in Santa Mart and the Dutchman closing in behind. Risk it all, the captain howled, it's the only chance we've got. Salvation if we make it, and our souls if we get caught. The storm was all around us and the Dutchman caught our wind. The beast nearly capsized us and we watched our strongmast bend. We were almost to the harbor, we could see the natural break, and each man wheeled her forward for they knew what was at stake.
Turn the ship around me, boys, turn around and run. That storm, it wants a battle, and it's sure that we're outgunned. That ghostly ship is hunting us, it's bringing on the gale. She's called the Flying Dutchman, and it's rage that fills her sails.
Once we charged into that harbor, the Flying Dutchman heaved away, and we heard their bitter screams, for the devil lost his prey. Once we made it safely to the leeward of the bay, we cracked that barrel open to see what those letters say. There must have been 100, and that's when we realized these moldy parchments were addressed to those who'd long since died. If you see a battered frigate neath a gray and stormy sky, give way and watch behind you, or you'll hear your captain cry.
Turn the ship around me, boys, turn around and run. That storm, it wants a battle, and it's sure that we're outgunned. That ghostly ship is hunting us, it's bringing on the gale. She's called the Flying Dutchman, and it's rage that fills her sails.
This will be your home, me boy, so I trust you'll treat her right. Was how the captain's speech began each voyage's first night. He smiled, said it's tradition, but I ask that you refrain from carving your name in the beam next to her lofty main. The first night I was there, her mates held me in the air and let me carve my name with theirs to show that I was there. From boy to man we grew up as across the waves we roamed. As she burned we sobbed like sons who'd lost their childhood home. 8 bells ring out in Dover, 8 bells ring out in Wales, 8 bells ring out in Liverpool and down to Murphy's Scales. 8 bells ring out in Port Royal, 8 bells ring out in Boston town, 8 bells ring out in Nassau, the night the merry widow went down. As a mere midshipman's mate, I stare up at that beam and knew that every name I saw once shared with me a dream. Some of them so faded, just a memory and a scratch, but they grew much clearer with every new batch. She made sure we made it back to the lands we've known, and with the tide we'd all return to the vessel we called home. There were parts we could have salvaged, but I think we all agreed that she deserved the honor of a burial at sea. 8 bells ring out in Dover, 8 bells ring out in Wales, 8 bells ring out in Liverpool and down to Murphy's Scales. 8 bells ring out in Port Royal, 8 bells ring out in Boston town, 8 bells ring out in Nassau, the night the merry widow went down. By the time I was the bosun, the list was 3 yards long. Though she had seen so many years, she still stood tall and strong. From her name she took her spirit, bold and strong and true, and she raced the wind and never failed her brave and loyal crew. The ship she never foundered and her defenses never breached. No matter her port of call, her goal was always reached. When we were told her day had come and she had sailed her last, that they would tear her down for scrap, we couldn't let that pass. 8 bells ring out in Dover, 8 bells ring out in Wales, 8 bells ring
reef we swore an oath that we'd carry out our plan, and damn the risk we would push on to the strength of our last man. And as we stared at all the names of those that came before, we cut the line and stole that ship and sailed her out once more. Beyond the reef we sailed her and set our love alight. We jumped ship and watched her burn from the shore that night. As she sank beneath the waves, we knew one thing for sure: she made more of a mark on us than we ever did on her. 8 bells rang out in Dover, 8 bells rang out in Wales, 8 bells rang out in Liverpool and down the Murphy scales. 8 bells rang out in Port Royal, 8 bells rang out in Boston town, 8 bells rang out in Nassau, the night the merry widow. 8 bells rang out, 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 the night the merry widow went down. The night the merry widow went down.
Once a privateer in service to the Queen, he raided and he plundered an outlaw of the sea. He armed a merchant ship that he captured from the French. She then became Queen Anne's revenge. He tied his beard in ribbons, lit his hair up for a fight. A pirate like no other, an intimidating sight. Just to hear his name caused men to be afraid. To cross his sword would mean an early grave. Blackbeard, Blackbeard, terror of the sea, you made your mark in history. Blackbeard, Blackbeard, raise your colors high, this is the day that you die. Bloody battle off the coast of Caroline, he took 5 musket shots and the sword 20 times. He gave it all he had up to the bitter end. Then the Royal Navy took his head. Blackbeard, Blackbeard, terror of the sea, you made your mark in history. Blackbeard, Blackbeard, raise your colors high, this is the day that you die. Blackbeard, Blackbeard, terror of the sea, you made your mark in history. Blackbeard, Blackbeard, raise your colors high, this is the day that you die.
I never was one for drinking and dance, but I lived by the dice and the cards in my hands. But the goddess of fortune seemed loath of the sea. There were none of the crew who was poorer than me. I was walking the deck on a cold, starry night when the shape of a spectre appeared in my sight. He said, I am Jones and I've seen your demise. I've been moved by your suffering, I will help you rise. And he's waiting for me down below in the bottomless chasm. I'm his sailor to be, and he's waiting for me down below, down below, down below. He said, I'll make you richest of all of your crew. In return, I require a promise from you. When your sand has run out, when your time here is through, you'll sign up for me without further ado. I complied and I signed with my blood on the line. With the thought of my life, only gold on my mind.
was deceived. I wish I had known that I would be richest, but also alone. I'm this fool, you see, and is waiting for me down below in the bottomless chasm. I'm a sailor to be, and is waiting for me down below, down below, down below. A scream from the hold where the first mate was found lying bleeding and cold, and a sailor came running with a nail in his eye. So we all ran to help him, but I knew he would die. Soon enough we were caught in a fight for our lives, in a torrent of hail from a blue cloudless sky. When a freak wave swept half of the crew overboard, the captain went mad and he fell on his sword. I'm a fool, you see, and he's laughing at me down below in the bottomless chasm. I'm a sailor to be, and he's waiting for me down below, down below, down below. Now I'm drifting alone on an ocean so vast. The ship's wealthiest sailor, but also the last. There's a wind out of nowhere that's filling my sails. There's a sprinkling of frost building up on the rails. I'm his fool, you see, and he's laughing at me down below in the bottomless chasm. I'm his sailor to be, and he's waiting for me down below, down below, down below. I'm his fool, you see, and he's laughing at me down below in the bottomless chasm. I'm his sailor to be, and he's waiting for me down below, 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 down below.
It's all the flash packets and packets of pain. She hails from New York and it dreadnoughts her name. Across the wild western ocean she's bound for to go. She's the Liverpool packet of war. Let her go very down, 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 very down. The dreadnought is hauling out of Waterloo Dock, and the boys and the girls to the pierhead do flock. They gave us 3 cheers as their tears down the floor. She's the Liverpool packet of war. Let her go very down, 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 very down. The dreadnought is lying in the river Mersey, waiting for independence to tow her to sea. Out round the road lighthouse where the salt tides still flow. Bound away in the dreadnought and westward we'll go very down, 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 very down. Derry down, 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 Derry down.
Once a sailor sailing the sea, once a sailor born to be free. Once a sailor, but now I've become a pirate for the rum.
Once a farmer ploughing my field, once a farmer pitchfork I wield.
Once a farmer, but now I've become a pirate for the rum.
Once a blacksmith hammering steel, once a blacksmith fixing your wheel.
Once a blacksmith, but now I become a pirate for the rum.
Once a beggar sitting in the streets, once a beggar begging for a treat.
Once a beggar, but now I become a pirate for the rum.
Once a miner working the mines, once a miner where the sun never shines.
Once a miner, but now I've become a pirate for the rum.
Once a tanner made leather a belt, once a tanner rich but I smelled.
Once a tanner, but now I've become a pirate for the rum. Once a barmaid, but now I've become a pirate for the rum.
Once a soldier patrolling the streets, once a soldier with taking my beats.
Once a soldier, but now I've become a pirate for the rum.
Once a cleric walking God's way, once a cleric to the Lord I pray.
Once a cleric, but now I've become a pirate for the rum.
Once a gilder making overlays of gold, once a gilder making beautiful and bold.
Once a gilder, but now I've become a pirate for the rum.
Once a hangman stringing folks up high, once a hangman an unpleasant way to die. Once a hangman, but now I become a pirate for the rum.
Once a pirate pillaging the sea,
Once a pirate, no days for me. Once a pirate, but now I become. No, we will always be pirates.
No future was there in London for a poor man's son like me. So I left my home and I went to seek my fortune on the sea. I signed aboard a merchant ship bound for the West Indies, and 6 weeks out we tacked into the winds of piracy. There were sails on the horizon and we tried to make a run, and when we saw that black flag then our running it was done. And when those pirates boarded us they told us one by one, you can die or join our crew, me boys, time flies when you're having rum.
Time flies when you're having rum, me boys, time flies when you're having rum. When you're sailing under the black flag and you're firing all your guns. When you take a Spanish treasure ship, you divide by the rule of thumb. The voyage will be over soon enough, time flies when you're having rum.
With a pistol to my forehead that my choice was all too clear, I took leave of that merchant ship and became a buccaneer. And though they spared my life, I think that if the truth be told, I joined them for the promise of adventure, rum and gold. The quartermaster handed me a cutlass and a gun, and as I signed their articles, the captain told me, son, us gentlemen of fortune live life fast and on the run. So step right up and take your share, time flies when you're having rum.
Time flies when you're having rum, me boys, time flies when you're having rum. When you're sailing under the black flag and you're firing all your guns. When you take a Spanish treasure ship, you divide by the rule of thumb. The voyage will be over soon enough, time flies when you're having rum.
For 2 long years I sailed with them around the Spanish Main, and we captured ships from Portugal, from England, France, and Spain. And we took what we could and we gave none back, for that's the pirate's code. And the wake we left in the Caribbean Sea ran red with blood. Now the Admiralty in London sent a fleet to hunt us down, and a trader in Port Royal told them where we could be found. They surrounded us in Nassau, the captain shouted, let 'em come. The fight'll be over soon enough, time flies when you're having rum.
Time flies when you're having rum, me boys, time flies when you're having rum. When you're sailing under the black flag and you're firing all your guns. When you take a Spanish treasure ship, you divide by the rule of thumb. The voyage will be over soon enough, time flies when you're having rum.
We ran the red flag up and then we readied all our guns. No quarter would we give and in return expected none. We got off one good broadside but outnumbered 10 to 1. They took out half our crew and then our pirating was done. They took us back to London town under key and lock, and the hangman's noose was swinging at the execution dock. The captain turned and said to me, we had fine sailing, son. The voyage, it was over all too soon. Time flies when you're having rum.
Time flies when you're having rum, me boys. Time flies when you're having rum. When you're sailing under the black flag and you're firing all your guns. When you take a Spanish treasure ship, you divide by the rule of thumb. The voyage will be over soon enough. Time flies when you're having rum.
Now as you listen to this tale, by now I'm sure you have surmised that I slipped the hangman's cable and escaped him with my life. But how I got away, well that's another story, son. My voyages, they aren't over yet. Time flies when you're having rum.
Time flies when you're having rum, you boys. Time flies when you're having rum. When you're sailing under the black flag and you're firing all your guns. When you take a Spanish treasure ship, you divide by the rule of thumb. The voyage will be over soon enough. Time flies when you're having rum. Time flies when you're having rum, you boys. Time flies when you're having rum. When you're sailing under the black flag and you're firing all your guns. When you take a Spanish treasure ship, you divide by the rule of thumb. The voyage will be over soon enough. Time flies when you're having rum. There's not a thing the ship, in fact she is just fine. But there would be some changes if this vessel it were mine. Nothing unrealistic or too drastic or severe, just some subtle tweaks to improve the atmosphere.
I would have a great big deck plated in solid gold. Cause being teased about my little deck is really getting old.
Happens a lot.
I'd sail from South Tortuga all the way up to Quebec.
Never been to South Tortuga.
And in each port I'd shout, "Hey sailor, wanna ride my great big deck?"
It's enormous!
So it's okay. It's okay.
There's not a thing wrong with the ship, in fact she is just fine. But there would be some changes if this vessel it were mine. Nothing unrealistic or too drastic or severe, just some subtle tweaks to improve the atmosphere.
Let's see, I'd get rid of all the water from down in the ballast hold.
But we'll tip over.
And replace it with some good dark rum where it can stay nice and cold. Every man aboard the ship can drink until he's had his fill. And the only rule that we'd enforce is that no one's allowed to spill. How about that? Take
And then
that.
you replace it later.
There's not a thing wrong with the ship, in fact she is just fine. But there would be some changes if this vessel it were mine. Nothing unrealistic or too drastic or severe, just some subtle tweaks to improve the atmosphere.
I'd strip her down just to a rudder, a mast and a wheel.
Minimalism.
I'd make her long and hard and hollow and cover her in steel. She'd be a giant floating cannon, no need for cabins or walls. And everyone would shiver when they saw the size of my balls.
You've seen them. They're huge.
There's not a thing wrong with the ship, in fact she is just fine. But there would be some changes if this vessel it were mine. Nothing unrealistic or too drastic or severe, just some subtle tweaks to improve the atmosphere.
I'd replace the bunks and hammocks with big four-poster beds.
Okay. Good
And
for
I'd
you.
get rid of most of the crew,
Wait,
like you lot,
Wait.
and hire trollops on instead.
Trollops
She
and
would be a floating brothel, and I'd be her captain bold.
Be your captain. Oh.
And I'd have more fun than any pirate, and I'd make a lot more gold.
You're a jerk.
There's not a thing wrong with the ship, in fact she is just fine. But there would be some changes if this vessel it were mine. Nothing unrealistic or too drastic or severe, just some subtle tweaks to improve the atmosphere.
I'd get rid of all the sails, find something better than the wind.
What?
Perhaps some sort of intermittent combustion engine with reciprocating pistons and a fuel source based on heat.
My head hurts.
We could.
Whoa.
Oh, forget it, you mooks. Let's go with Devin's brothel plan. Wouldn't that be sweet?
There's not a thing wrong with the ship, in fact she is just fine. But there would be some changes if this vessel it were mine. Nothing unrealistic or too drastic or severe, just some subtle tweaks to improve the atmosphere. Nothing unrealistic or too drastic or severe, just some subtle tweaks to improve the atmosphere.
I served on the Charles, a fair privateer, but our pay it was weeks overdue. The crew's morale was low and the captain was drunk, and sadly this was nothing new. So while he slept we cut line and sailed out, they called it polite mutiny. When he awoke we put him in a boat and began our life of piracy. With a crew of 150 and 46 guns, we sailed the Arabian Sea. We found 4 pirate ships and enlisted their aid, and each of their captains agreed. Pilgrims and merchants both used this route when the spices and silks were all sold. If our timing was right, the ships would be slow, weighed down by all the silver and gold. My wicked, wicked ways and those wicked, wicked days, when the blood and the gold poured down just like the rain. That wicked, wicked sea and my most wicked company, when they screamed for my head in England, France, and Spain. Our crews, they all roared as they saw a great ship, and readied as our prize drew near. With 400 rifles and 40 big guns, ship felt it had nothing to fear. With our second shot, the mainmast was lost. They knew they had nowhere to run. Firing their rifles, the crew swarmed the deck, while quickly reloading the guns. A cannon exploded and bodies were thrown, the deck covered in carnage and fire. We pulled alongside and ready to board, her treasure now our one desire. Standing on deck, 30 slave girls were armed and dressed up to look like the crew, while down in the hold their brave captain wept, for he knew that his time it was through. My wicked, wicked ways and those wicked, wicked days, when the blood and the gold poured down just like the rain. That wicked, wicked sea and my most wicked company, when they screamed for my head in England, France, and Spain. We fought our way down till we got to a hatch that led to the frigate's main hold. We all stared in wonder at what we had found, a sight just too great to behold. There were chests overflowing with jewelry and gems, and that is just where it began. More than 1 million pounds worth of silver and gold, enough to make kings of each man. The crew then embarked on an orgy of rape and plunder that lasted 5 days. We tortured their crewmen until we had found where each secret hiding place lay. And in a cabin with walls lined in gold, I found there my favorite prize, the Emperor's daughter who stared back at me with smoldering charcoal for eyes. My wicked, wicked ways and those wicked, wicked days, when the blood and the gold poured down just like the rain. That wicked, wicked sea and my most wicked company, when they screamed for my head in England, France, and Spain. We loaded our ships with all they could hold, and left them not even a scrap, and headed then to the nearest port, our hope to outrun any traps. 1/2 ton of ivory and the ship that I loved bribed us our way onto shore. We split up the treasure and went our own ways, and with pirates I sailed nevermore. I built me a palace and lived like a king, paid for with ill-gotten gold. The Emperor's daughter and my secret I kept, while I comfortably grew old. My life as a pirate was short, that is true, but my exploits are all known quite well. For those of you who say that crime doesn't pay, Captain Avery, that's me, says like hell. My wicked, wicked ways and those wicked, wicked days, when the blood and the gold poured down just like the rain. That wicked, wicked sea and my most wicked company, when they screamed for my head in England, France, and Spain. When they screamed for my head in England, France, and Spain. When they screamed for my head in England, France, and Spain.
As we were sailing along the salt sea, we hadn't been gone months, but 2 or 3, when we spied 10 sail of Turk, all men of war, full big as we.
Down your colors, you English dog. All down your colors, do not refuse. All down your colors, you English dog. For your precious lives, you will lose. Our captain saw 10 ships, we couldn't see but one. For 3 we sank, and 3 we burned, and 3 we caused them to run away, and 1 we took back to Portsmouth Harbor. For to let them know we won the day. If anyone there should inquire as to our gallant captain's name, well, Captain Well-Founder was our commander. And the Royal Hope was our ship of name.
Well, Captain Well-Founder was our commander,
and the Royal Hope was our ship of name.
And drink with me to love and life and what may be. With the sun and the sky in our hearts, carefree. 'Cause it's a long way down. It's a long way down to the bottom of the sea. Tomorrow the fates will hold the key, so stand fast, brothers, we will not flee. The first to turn, then down.
It's a long way down to the bottom of the sea. You can't escape this destiny where Davy Jones and the devil will be. So lift a glass and drink with me. It's a long way down. It's a long way down to the bottom of the sea. So take it in while we're up above. Leave not undone what you're dreaming of. Laugh and drink and sing and love. It's a long way down. It's a long way down to the bottom of the sea. We all find ourselves there by and by, where the bodies and the dreams of the sailors lie. Can't avoid it, we know, but we can try. It's a long way down. It's a long way down to the bottom of the sea. We will drink that nary a thing goes wrong, or we'll meet there before too long, and the sailors above will fear our song. It's a long way down. 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 It's a long
You can take my flintlock and my powder and my knives. You can lock me up, you can keep me from your wives. You can take my cutlass, you can take me from the sea. But you can never take the pillaging, plundering pirate out of me. Every time a pirate ship was spotted on the sea, every sailor swore that it was me. How could I have been in all the places that they say? What do we care? We caught a pirate today. You can take my flintlock and my powder and my knives. You can lock me up, you can keep me from your wives. You can take my cutlass, you can take me from the sea. But you can never take the pillaging, plundering pirate out of me. Pirates drink their wine and rum, but getting drunk is not much fun when you're hanging from the dead man's gallows. Hanging from the dead man's gallows. Spend your life in plundering, but it really leads to just one thing. Hanging from the dead man's gallows. Hanging from the dead man's gallows. You must try and understand, a pirate's life is not so grand when you're hanging from the dead man's gallows.
hanging from the dead man's gallows. You can brag of all your pirate deeds, looting and plundering and taking all you need. But there are those whose lives you took away. If they were here, what would they say? Hanging from the dead man's gallows, hanging from the dead man's gallows. Take my flintlock and my powder and my knives. You can lock me up, you can keep me from your wives. You can take my cutlass, you can take me from the sea, but you can never take the pillaging, plundering pirate out of me. Many were the nights I spent in port so well hidden, loving women, drinking with the men. I squandered all my plunder and I drank my share of rum, but I never thought that this day would come. You can take my flintlock and my powder and my knives. You can lock me up, you can keep me from your wives. You can take my cutlass, you can take me from the sea, but you can never take the pillaging, plundering pirate out of me. Scalawag, buccaneer, not much difference as I hear when you're hanging from the dead man's gallows, hanging from the dead man's gallows. All your chests of stolen gold cannot save your cursed soul when you're hanging from the dead man's gallows, hanging from the dead man's gallows. The devil spawned a pirate crew, that's who'll be waiting for you when you're hanging from the dead man's gallows, hanging from the dead man's gallows. When you were young, you were a ruthless rake. India to Madagascar, terror in your wake. Now there's only one place left for you. The die is cast, no matter what you do. You can take my flintlock and my powder and my knives. You can lock me up, you can keep me from your wives. You can take my cutlass, you can take me from the sea, but you can never take the pillaging, plundering pirate out of me. Hanging from the dead man's gallows, hanging from the dead man's gallows. Hanging from the dead man's gallows, hanging from the dead man's gallows, hanging from the dead man's gallows, hanging from the dead man's gallows.
Ooh, 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 they are coming for you. I can see 3 pirates on the ocean. Ooh, 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 they are coming for you. I can see 3 pirates on the ocean. The first one lost his eye, the second lost his sense. The third one will show no
Of the ocean, yo ho there's no place to hide. You will die tonight. Yo ho ho, we are coming for you. We are pirates of the ocean. Yo ho ho, we are coming for you. There's no place to hide. You will die tonight.
Go kiss your jewelry farewell, my dear. Go hide you like this we used to fight. The blues and pesos will all go our fear. So leave this place while the day is bright. They aim to pillage and the cross is clear. They leave us slices, faces. No time to mourn, so save your tear for the dead man in the day.
Yo ho ho, we are coming for you. We are pirates of the ocean. Yo ho ho, we are coming for you. There's no place to hide. You will die tonight.
If you are wealthy, they will find you first. They smell the way to for all gold. If you have rum, they will quench their thirst. They'll leave no quarter, that's what I'm told. I hear the shouting from across the sea. I hear the cannons, they're close, my lad. So free my heart, here's no place to be. I say goodbye to mom and dad.
Yo ho ho, we are coming for you. We are pirates of the ocean. Yo ho ho, we are coming for you. There's no place to hide. You will die tonight.
I see the fire, they have reached our shore. I hear the screams, the knuckles of the swords. Ain't no use in locking the door. If you don't die, they will take you aboard.
Yo ho ho, we are coming for you. We are pirates of the ocean. Yo ho ho, we are coming for you. There's no place to hide. You will die too. Yo ho ho, we are coming for you. We are pirates of the ocean. Yo ho ho, we are coming for you. There's no place to hide. You will die tonight.
When I was just a little boy or so, me mammy told me, away, haul away, we'll haul away, Joe. That if I didn't kiss the girls, me lips would grow all moldy. Away, haul away, we'll haul away, Joe, haul away. Haul away, we'll haul away together. Way, haul away, we'll haul away, Joe, haul away. Haul away, we'll haul for better weather. Way, haul away, we'll haul away, Joe. King Louis was the king of France before the revolution. Way, haul away, we'll haul away, Joe. But then he got his head cut off, spoiled his constitution. Way, haul away, we'll haul away, Joe, haul away. Haul away, we'll haul away together. Way, haul away, we'll haul away, Joe, haul away. Haul away, we'll haul for better weather. Way, haul away, we'll haul away, Joe. The cook is in his galley, making duffs a dandy. Way, haul away, we'll haul away, Joe.
The captain's in his cabin, drinking wine and brandy. Away, haul away, we'll haul away, Joe, haul away. Haul away, we'll haul away together. Way, haul away, we'll haul away, Joe, haul away. Haul away, we'll haul for better weather. Way, haul away, we'll haul away, Joe. Hey, can't you see the black clouds rising? Way, haul away, we'll haul away, Joe. Hey, can't you see the storm clouds gathering? Way, haul away, we'll haul away, Joe, haul away. Haul away, we'll haul away together. Way, haul away, we'll haul away, Joe, haul away. Haul away, we'll haul for better weather. Way, haul away, we'll haul away. Haul away, haul away, we'll haul away together. Way, haul away, we'll haul away, Joe, haul away. Haul away, we'll haul for better weather. Way, haul away, we'll haul away. Haul away, Joe.
We all laugh and tell old stories, just sitting in the dark. And not one of them knows that when we land I'll disembark. We've spent so much time together, out prowling on the sea, that somehow this strange group of men became a family. We started out no more than boys, with more guts than brains, doing what they said could not be done. They thought we were insane. One by one they wandered to their bunks, ready for another day. And I'm left alone here with the stars, where they can't hear me say, thank you, lads, for all you are and all you've been to me. Thank you for the laughter and for all the memories. Thank you for being there through the good times and the bad. And thank you for being the best mates I've ever had. We have seen success and we've watched our fortunes grow, and we have shared more happy times than many men will know. We were all there together when each of us found a wife, and we proudly watched the children grow and have a happy life. And we have shared great tragedy that none should bear alone, and with every loss and heartache our brotherhood has grown. I'm not the first to leave, it's true, some have gone before. I know without me the crew will reinvent once more. Thank you, lads, for all you are and all you've been to me. Thank you for the laughter and for all the memories. Thank you for being there through the good times and the bad. And thank you for being the best mates I've ever had. With that the coughing starts again, the crimson hard to hide. I'm sorry, my brothers, hope you never know I lied. But this one won't get better, lads, and I know it's true. So I choose to walk away before I burden you. I will say the time is right for me to go my way, and I know you'll understand, or at least that's what you'll say. I will wish you luck and watch you sail off on the sea. For the first time in forever, I will just be me.
Thank you, lads, for all you are and all you've been to me. Thank you for the laughter and for all the memories. Thank you for being there through the good times and the bad. And thank you for being the best mates I've ever had. Thank you, lads, for all you are and all you've been to me. Thank you for the laughter and for all the memories. Thank you for being there through the good times and the bad. And thank you for being the best mates I've ever had.
Thank you for being the best mates I've ever had.
Hands on deck, Miss Garvey mateys, cause we're going to set sail. Hoist the colours, man the cannons, cause it's time to plunder and kill. Yar har, we're a pirates, we go wherever we please. While in combat we are awesome, we're in all the seven seas. Yo ho ho, and a bottle of rum. Wave your hands goodbye to the landlubber scum. Yo ho ho, and a bottle of rum. Wave your hands goodbye to the landlubber scum. Pirates we are born, pirates we still be. We live in our ship, out on the sea. We rape and plunder everyone who gets in our way. That's what happens in an average pirate's day. We don't know where we're going, we'll just set sail ahoy. Go hunting for some treasure, now fetch me sword, me boy. You cannot kill us pirates, but we can sure kill you. We got a lustful of freedom, me mateys and me crew. Yo ho ho, and a bottle of rum. Wave your hands goodbye to the landlubber scum. Yo ho ho, and a bottle of rum. Wave your hands goodbye to the landlubber scum. Pirates we are born, pirates we still be. We live on our ship, out on the sea. We rape and plunder everyone who gets in our way. That's what happens in an average pirate's day. We are born, pirates we still be. We live on our ship, out on the sea. We rape and plunder everyone who gets in our way. That's what happens in an average pirate's day. Now
they got Morgan, Carolinas they got Teach, and in the channel of Kingston Bay we got a ship called the Devil's Reach. She had 47 cannon, on deck had 14 guns, and at the wheel was Big Tom Cutter, was a noble's bastard son. The locals all knew better, they all knew to stay away, and if you passed and listened close you could have heard them say, you should have turned back sooner, cause a reach it owns his pay, and you can't outrun her and you can't outgun her and you know you're gonna pay. From Brighton sailed a gunship, and with them sailed 4 more. So we're sailing down to Kingston Bay, gonna settle us a score. The ships they were all loaded,
they were searching for their prize. They collect the bounty on the devils, reaching cut Big Tom down to size. The sun, it was a setting when they slunk into the bay, and in the dark felt their skin crawl as they heard the locals say, you should have turned back sooner, cause the reach it owns his pay. And you can't outrunner and you can't outgunner, and you know you're gonna pay. For the 5 ships they were ready, just waiting for first light. With a single shot knew they'd been caught, and the Reach began the fight. It was a moonless night in August, and darkness filled that bay. But the cannon fire from those tall ships turned the dark night into day. Now the Reach, it was surrounded, there was surely no way out. But who was trapped became quite clear when they heard Tom Cutter shout. They should have turned back sooner, cause the Reach, it owns his bay. And you can't outrun her and you can't outgun her, and you know you're gonna pay. After dawn the Reach, it broke off, turned slowly towards the shore. That gunship slipped beneath the waves where it joined the other 4. Her sails were ripped and shredded, her mast is shards of wood. And on that shattered burning deck, Big Tom Cutter stood. He steered her towards the nearest shore, not sure if he'd succeed. But there it sits this very day with a wooden sign that reads, they should have turned back sooner, cause the Reach, it owns his pay. And you can't outrun her and you can't outgun her, and you know you're gonna pay. And you can't outrun her and you can't outgun her, and you know you're gonna pay.
deck, boys, we spotted a prize. Wind's at our back, we have the surprise. Con out the guns, boys, and keep her in sight. She can't run away, there'll be plunder tonight. Take up position and push up the speed. Soon there'll be nowhere to hide. Pack in the powder and sharpen your steel as we come along broadside. Load the cannons for the attack. Now trim the sails, mates, no turning back. Take what you can, boys, give nothing back. Now hoist the colors and raise the black. Fire at will, boys, and pour it on strong. Those Spanish bastards will not last long. Make their ship bleed, boys, we're staking our claim. Those we let live will carry our name. Take up position and push up the speed. Soon there'll be nowhere to hide. Pack in the powder and sharpen your steel as we come along broadside. Load the cannons for the attack. Now trim the sails, mates, no turning back. Take what you can, boys, give nothing back. Hoist the colors and raise the black. put all the prisoners way down in the hold, tie them together and group them tenfold. Let them all ponder upon their defeat, while we gain a ship that will add to our fleet. Take up position and push up the speed, soon there'll be nowhere to hide. Pack in the powder and sharpen your steel, as we come along broadside. Load the cannons for the attack, now trim the sails, mates, no turning back. Take what you can, boys, give nothing back. Hoist the colors and raise the black. So load the cannons for the attack, now trim the sails, mates, no turning back. Take what you can, boys, give nothing back. Now hoist the colors and raise the flag. Hoist the colors and raise the flag. Hoist the colors and raise the flag.
Captain, he decided we'd all go round the horn. In that fateful moment, a hatred it was born. The trip was truly awful, with the sleet and hail and wind. And by the time we turned back, we'd lost 14 men. With that act, the captain had lit a deadly spark that would sit and smolder, waiting in the dark. Before you lay your judgment, please hear our story through, and you'll see there was just one thing we could do: mutiny. Mutiny! The futile triad added almost 4 weeks to our trip. And when we hit the islands, we just wanted off that ship. Exotic natives greeted us, girls beckoned from the beach. Our captain, he decided a cruel lesson he would teach. The captain said, "Now look here, lads, your attitude's quite poor. And for your bitter discontent, you'll not step foot on the shore." So aboard our ship we sat as the forbidden plot took shape. We knew when that word was spoke that there'd be no escape from mutiny. Mutiny! We all knew the risk when we lit that fuse, but from where we stood we had nothing left to lose. The crew had reached their limit. The captain crossed the line, and the crew all stared that icy stare, 'cause we knew it was time for mutiny. Mutiny! 3 long hellish weeks we waited, anchored in the bay, and cursed the captain's officers as they went ashore each day. And when the captain finally said it's time the sails were set, off we sailed, dreaming of girls we never met. Now we'll make a second run to the Horn, the captain said. But we knew that we would choose a different path instead. All that day we waited till the sun was setting low, and in the blood-red darkness were whispers down below of mutiny. Mutiny! The officers were the first to go. They went down one by one. As we approached the captain's door, we were nearly done. The crew took all his weapons, but we gave him time to dress. When he was done, we found him and threw him with the rest. that chose to join us, we let stay on through the trip. The rest got tack and old salt beef and booted off the ship. They wanted the horn so desperately, so we left them to the sea and sailed back to that island to take a sailor's ease from mutiny. Mutiny! We all knew the risk when we lit that fuse, but from where we stood we had nothing left to lose. The crew had reached their limit, the captain crossed the line, and the crew all stared that icy stare, 'cause we knew it was time for mutiny. Mutiny! Now we stand before you knowing of our chosen fate, and now you know the cruelty of the story we relate. Going round the horn again, we knew there was no hope, so we chose a little pleasure and our end here from a rope.
I am not a pirate, but I long to be sailing by the stars across the seven seas, living with no earthly cares, my mates and me, the envy of a worldly men who are not free.
For wealthy men or wrapped and bound in chains, our treasures not in gold or in our piety. Our wealth is in an answer for the longing of the sea. The stormy oceans carry us to lands we've never known, the mysteries and buried secrets from the tales of old. So hoist the sail and raise the flag, we do not stop for night. Ride the wild winds and waves until the morning's light.
In smugglers' caves and tavern halls, we live by no man's rules. Fly the colors of the living, free and proud and true. We set out on the ocean blue to escape tyranny. We keep our merry hearts alive so long we roam the sea. Walked along the shore and called he out to me, I see you are a fisherman, a lover of the sea. I know this world's a wretched place, but if you'll follow me, I'll take all of your burdens, and pirates we shall be. Yo ho, yo ho, yo ho, yo ho, yo ho, yo ho. Now before us, and misery and doubt. We could not care the lesser for the men who say yatta. So let the howling winds blow in and take over the past. Release the wheel and all your sins, for you are free at last. Swap the deck, my clever lad, and listen close to me. Learn my ways, and soon one day a captain you shall be. Climb the rigging, mount the mast, and say, what can you see? Fleet upon the starboard side.
In battle we shall meet.